Alright, hello everybody. This is an unboxed video. I'm not going to unbox it, just show you everything that's inside the box. And then go over a couple of things that I found while I was going through the Kickstarter for Sine Tempore. And I've said that Ludus Magnus Studios was a little behind. They were a year delayed, almost a year and 6 months delayed, I believe. The Kickstarter was successfully funded in June of 2017. Black Rose Wars came out, and it felt like to me that they were giving some priority and a little bit more of, last child, middle child, whatever you want to call it, a little bit more love for that game. So this one took a delay. I'm not in the business, so I'm not sure why, but the delay was hard to kind of tolerate, and some of the other things that were going on, some of the components. So I had a negative vibe going into this game coming to me. I just had this feeling like the condition's going to be poor, the rule book layout and the component list and the quality of the miniatures, the quality of the components. Is there going to be missing stuff? Is the mold going to be broken? Missing stuff. So I'm going to address those things that I found while I was unboxing and while I was going through reading some of the rules, and I'll touch on some things that kind of matter to me. They may matter to you, and hopefully it'll give you some information. But right up front, I'm happy with it. I have not played it yet. I've gone through some of the rules, but I wanted to kind of get a video showing you what it looks like when it's unboxed. There's a lot of stuff here. So the chronic collector in me, as soon as I got the box and I saw I was an all-in, so I got all the expansions. So the SILICIO came with it. I got the MOTHERFANG, I got the ARACNE, I got the pets, I've got all that stuff, and then that big black box that came as part of the stretch goals is just part of it all as well. All right, so let's go over some things. So condition, I was concerned about the condition, how it was going to be packed, how it was going to arrive. A couple of people in the comments for the Kickstarter were saying, yeah, my boxes are damaged and things aren't quite looking all that good. So the only thing that came in mind, the only problem I had was one single dent on the core box pushed in on the bottom corner. Luckily no paper material was on the bottom corner, so everything was fine. The only thing that I saw inside the box for the plastic components is the big guy here. His tail came unglued in shipping, so you can see how his tail came off, but that is not an issue. Easily glued back on, flip that over, glue that in, and he's good to go. So that's the only thing that I saw I wouldn't even call it broken pieces. I would just call it snapped off in shipping. Easy fix, just like these guys' poles here. They're staffs, weapons, whatever you want to call them. I only had one guy out of these two that you can see how his weapon is slightly bent. That's hot water fix just there, not an issue. Everybody else was fine. You can see some of the hero miniatures also have stabs that could easily get that droopy bend in them, but they came out just fine. All right, so overall components condition is good. Overall the components are all there. They have everything that's essentially in the rulebook and saying that the components should be there. It's all there. Enemy tokens for veterans. These guys right here, just to let you know, everything that is in the box you should be able to see here. It may be kind of cut off in the corner over there. There's the main box. You can kind of see some of the stuff's cut off, but everything that is in the box you can see in some way, shape, or form. If you open up your box and you're looking inside of it and you come across these miniatures, these little tokens here, these plastic trays obviously don't come in. So if you come across these are supplements for miniatures that are in your black box. So if you're picking this up as your Kickstarter, check in your black box, and this token can be replaced by miniatures as well as the chieftains. So those veterans and temple guards, which are these, I believe you have 4 to 5 miniatures for there, and then you've got one miniature for this guy, but he's got variations of him as well. I don't know if that artwork, yeah, it's the same, but the cards are slightly different, and I can show you that later as we go through cards. So look for your miniatures in your black box, and you can get rid of these tokens or keep them for something else, because they have specific, for the momentum, they have, you know, their own smaller version of that. I don't think I'm going to get a focus there. Maybe I will. Come on, buddy. Focus for me. Anyway, so there you go. All right, so good for components. Everything's there. I'm happy with that. Mission cards. I think overall these mission cards are pretty cool. They've got, obviously you shuffle them, you put them into a set of cards that you draw from based on the DEFCON level of the map in the background. On the other side is the map of the planet, and it tells you if you're on DEFCON level 4, 3, 2, or 1, 1 being the hardest or the most readiness condition. All right, so there's 5 different colors, but 4 is only 4 in the blue, 1 is only 1 in the kind of the purplish there. So you've got green can be 4 and 3 cards, yellow can be 3 and 2 cards, maroon can be 2 and 1, and then the purple pinkish can be only 1. So if that makes sense. As you move out, you make your choices and then move on with there. And then on the specific card itself, it'll tell you specifically what page to turn to in the campaign book. As you kind of get more expansions, expansion boxes come with more of these. You'll have the planet symbol on there, and then if it's a generic symbol, it says in the rule book, but these are the cards that came in the base set, and there is no generic symbol that I see. It's just lack of symbol. So I guess the generic symbol is no symbol. So yeah. Otherwise, good way of getting into a little bit of the randomness, replayability part there. So I like that. And this is just sort of a weird preference for me. These elements, like, I don't know how to pronounce any of those. I mean, Itanemoli, Kikulinium, Kekulinium. You know, I just told myself this is going to be it, al, in, mo, and key. So I've got some it material, or it element, al element, in element, mo element, and key element. Or you could say itin, or al, just al, or inot, or moti, kiku, I don't know, some other way, but trying to pronounce that for me was a little weird. So it's easy to get past. It's just something that was kind of sticking out to me. Like, I have no idea how to pronounce that. How am I going to tell? Just, hey, I've got blue element, I've got pink element, green element, purple element, orange element. Might be the way to go as well, you know, when talking to other players. Positive and negative tokens, so you can kind of see some of the tokens off here to the side. I have some of them covered up as they go off screen. But there are a lot of tokens, but they're easily identifiable. So you've got negative kind of tokens here. There's a lot of them. Rulebook will tell you what they're for. Positive status tokens, so positive status, negative status tokens. You've got various collectibles. You've got various other tokens that represent things in the game, and the campaign will tell you that. You've got the momentum tokens, and then tokens that supplement miniatures, like I said, that are in the black box. And then you've got different kind of scenic terrain pieces. And there was something on the first mission that I was trying to play. It said find loot tokens, find 6 loot tokens, and one of those loot tokens has to be red. Now, in the rule book, as I was going through here, I was like, all right, which one of these are loot tokens? And it doesn't cover that in any of these pages. None of these tokens are shown in the rule book. So I'm looking through the rule book, or which one of these are loot tokens? And it doesn't show that. Another set of tokens that aren't shown in the rule book are these other terrain tokens. And they're primarily with this kind of shape on it, but some of them don't have that shape. They have this guy on it, like he's a double-sided there. And then some of them have those on it. And then some of them have a corpse, which, see if I can find it quickly. Some of them have a corpse on there. See, these square tokens are nowhere to be shown inside this. And no, it's not those square ones there, because those are terrain pieces. Number 20, map connectors. So nowhere on this rulebook does it cover those 2 specific types of tokens. So I was looking everywhere for it in here, and I was like, okay, how do I set it up? It's in the campaign book. in the very front of that. So, I mean, look through both of them to familiarize yourself with everything that's in there. Get to that page real quick without slowing things down already. So they're back in here. So you can see these are different types of things that you'll find that aren't in the rule book. Because the mission said look for 6 loot tokens and one of them has to be red. So one of these loot tokens, these are loot tokens. And you can even see here number 28. Go over here to number 28. Other tokens and wound tokens includes all tokens used to play missions, loot tokens, and all wound tokens. It could say refer to campaign book for description because 28 only shows these tokens, all the circular tokens. So I was looking for these, and I was looking literally flipping each one of these tokens, and there's a lot of them, to see if they were double-sided in some way, and they don't really have double sides except for like this guy right here has a black and this one here has a clear. So I couldn't find it. I was like, okay, so what does that mean by red? And it's these guys, which are shown in the campaign book, but this little guy right here had me going for at least 10 minutes flipping things over, reading through the entire book, trying to find these tokens, which they're not described anywhere else other than the campaign book. Learning curve. Maybe there's an update in the PDF that updates some of the rules, but get through that and it's not really a big issue. I'm sure most people that play games probably come to the realization that maybe it's in somewhere else, so they'll go look for it. But usually the rule book kind of introduces you to everything. So packing, the vacuum form trays. These trays are great. They snugly fit everything. They don't have that, I gotta push them in and snap them. And it's got this really great, see I turn this thing upside down, the top doesn't come off, but it's got these nice corner on all 4 sides that let you kind of pop the top off. And it's a rigid plastic. It's not flexible black, that black thin plastic that you see in most boxes that you just throw away because they end up cracking and shipping anyway. But these are good vacuum form trays. The only thing about the vacuum form trays is they take up so much space in the box itself that it only leaves you, and I'll talk about this later, so I'll revisit this. Once all the boxes are in there, you're getting no more than 1.5 inches left of storage space. And there is, I would say, some pretty good void spaces under the bottom ones, so you could probably store some stuff down there. Maybe the cards would stand under there, but this bottom tray, there's a ton of empty space under here that you can kind of see there. There's a lot of space under there. There's a good 2 inches of space that you could save with some reorganization, maybe. So reboxing is going to be an issue for some people. Some people don't keep those trays. They just throw them out and then put all the miniatures in a pile, and they're not really worried about it, but might be something to consider. 30, 33. Yeah, so these mobile items. So it reads there and it says, this is what the mobile items, and then look for this symbol and that symbol right there, and then they give you a reference picture, but there's nowhere on this reference picture for mobile items that symbol. So I'm looking on this card. Okay, what am I looking for? Where do I find this symbol at? So, you know, I play a lot of games and sometimes rule books aren't perfect, and that's okay. So grab these cards real quick. Some of those other cards might go off screen, but you kind of look, I had to kind of go through the cards, and that's where it should be right there. So see this card right here referencing debris should have been, I think, the art that they used to help the player reference that, because I'm looking at this image because it's inside the box for mobile items to tell me what things are mobile. This thing I don't believe is even mobile, even reading there. Placement. The mushroom occupies 1 square and can be placed anywhere on a tile except for the borders. So, okay, so I can place that, but is it mobile? It says it can be placed, but it doesn't say it can be mobile, which is what this symbol on debris says. Be sure to download the updated PDFs for the inventory for all your components. Those can be found on the Ludus Magnus Studio's website, or you can just Google it and look for the PDF for that. Let's go on to some of the components, like these 3D components. These 3D components are great. They are really good. I would probably, maybe unless you're trying to save some space for storage, myself, I'll probably keep like this one because it's just a quick drop out, and just make sure that I hold the lower piece because that's stabilizing everything. If I grab onto this piece while I'm trying to move it around the board, the bottom piece is going to drop out. You fix that by gluing it, or just remembering that the bottom piece is the one. Like, it's not extremely snug, but that's okay. But we'll talk about punch boards and stuff later. But the materials, the 3D stuff is really cool. The only thing that I've found is in order to make these mushrooms stand up flush, you got to make sure the base is there. But then that kind of throws the art off a little bit. So if I push up the bottom of the base, the art starts to line up. But then you can see you're not going to get a stable footing for your tree, or sorry, for your mushroom, I keep calling them trees, to stand up correctly. So art's a little bit off on some of those. I believe these other mushrooms, though, line up a little bit better. Little bit better. Art is just slightly off, but not a big deal. I've seen worse. So above average. And my favorite of the 3D components, by far, I'll show you some of these turrets here shortly, are these containers. Like, these containers are nice and rigid. I can easily, they are double-sided, and we'll kind of talk about some of that later, but they are double-sided, and the characters can use them as cover. They can stand on top of them. I don't know if there's some that actually let you stand inside of them, but heck, I could house rule some of that stuff and say, oh, you can jump inside there, and now you've got cover, and you can, I don't know, throw some elements inside there, and these can represent specific spaces that the character can move into, around. Heck, I don't know. You can stack those things on top of them. You get 2 of them. And like I said, you can pull the sides off, and you can see how it's a different text on the inside. Heck, you could have the thing popped open like that, or like this with one side open. Who knows? I don't know if those are in the specific mission rules to pop one side off of it, but you can see that they go together very nicely. They are rigid, a lot better than I've seen some others. But the only thing is there are on the main map pages sort of an external space and then an internal space kind of artwork. And the internal space, I think, it matches this better. But if you can see, the artwork is mirror printed. And it made me think, as like, okay, maybe they stamped this side thematically and it just transferred over that way thematically. But for the print and in the artwork in the rule book or the campaign book, it shows these as being not mirrored. So if you wanted to flip these around and make this an internal type of container, the artwork is backwards or mirrored. So not sure if that throws anybody off or upsets anybody. It doesn't really upset me. It's like, are you really going to care what the printing is? Heck, it could be an alien printing who said it's got to be English. Okay, so yeah, containers, 3D components, good. So the mushrooms, really cool. These turret shields, shield turrets are really good. These do slide out fairly easily. So if I pick it up off the board and I shake it too much, maybe it'll fall out. So maybe gluing these, because they don't take all that much space up. I've actually had to get a plastic tote, and we'll talk about kind of reboxing. But these are really cool, above average for the quality of those and the artwork that's on them. And these turrets are pretty cool. They're not just, I mean, they could have stopped right there. And this is the part where I'm talking about maybe needing to glue these. But you could stop right there and say, all right, cool, turret. But they gave a little bit more of the 3D to it, and they gave it that. So yeah, I think they did a good job on the 3D elements. The other 3D element part are bushes. And again, these are, depending on where you grab it, that part could, if I grab it from here, that part's going to fall out. They're not exactly extremely tight. Try to just kind of demonstrate that, but just glue it, or just grab it from the right spot. And I mean, obviously it's not going to come apart if you're grabbing it from the one that's cradling the other piece. So otherwise, above average on the overall 3D components. Really like those. May need some glue, but really not required. And then those containers can be flipped around. The art and the color on all the boards are vibrant. I can tell what's on there. It's not like the art itself is so subdued just to make up so that you can see these lines. You can see some of the art actually goes over the lines itself. So vibrant art. I can tell the sides from each other. I can see everything. It's not like, what is that? These double-sided cards that they've got, they're using a lot of the space of these cards. So some of the cards are not double-sided. They've got a back and then they've got a front. Some of these cards have a back and a front depending on the type that you've got. But these cards right here for the upgrades, you can see that they've got the side for what it is, what it gives you, if there's any links in them. Let's see if I can find one that's got links in it, or those are just for specific skills for another character, or yeah, none of these. Oh, there's one. So you got this link ability over here. But you can see that they're double-sided, so they've got pretty much what components that you need. This one doesn't need any. This one needs 2 of the pink. We don't know the names of them yet. And then you can see they've got information that you need on the other side. So good use of space things there. Your reference for what you need to build the individual upgrade is on the back. It's not something you have to reference in the rule book. There does come with a set of these mini cards. I didn't have enough of the sleeves to sleeve all of these. Again, all the card qualities are exceptional. So the thickness of the cardboard, I mean, in comparison to some other games, let's look at some boards from like Simon. So Cool Mini or not. You've got a Simon board from, this is a game from the Others 7 Sins. You can see the thickness of the board there. It's going to be hard to get it to focus just right. So you can see the thickness of the cardstock there, and then the thickness of the boards for this game. Slightly thinner. You know, put them right next to each other. See if there's a best way that I can get that to zoom in on there. See, the thickness is a little bit thicker on the Simon side, so a little thinner on the boards for Sine Tempore. But again, it's not as if I'm pressing on these and they're bending. So it's a good cardstock. The edges of the artwork is not coming up. Neither are they on there, but you start to find a specific spot. I think they all have that, but good art, good, clean, visible, nice. And then these hero data pads, if anybody's curious about, so as you start to get upgrades, as you start to get skills for your specific character, so let's get the right skill pack for Akab, and there he is. So each one of these upgrade, so I got these things from Mythic Battles Pantheon, the stat clips. I'm just using those bags. These bags don't come with the game. So you take these individual upgrades, these skill tokens, and you can slot them in there. And you can see that the slot, there's actually a space. See how it's kind of recessed. So when it comes to saying things are double-sided versus just recessed, double-sided can have some recessed areas. Sorry, that was off screen. But this just has the back paper. This art right here is the part that's keeping that. And I don't know if you can see as I'm pushing up on that. So it's just the thin paper that's on the back that's holding that. So examples of actual double layered boards are from a game from Fantasy Flight Games. This is Fallout. So you can see how it's double layered. You actually sort of assemble these things, so they're not glued, but some games do have it to where these two pieces are pre-assembled and glued for you. These were actually punch board material, and you can see how it's double layered, so it uses 2 thicknesses of cardboard to create the recess, and it makes it a little bit more rigid. So this is what I consider double layered. I don't necessarily consider those data pads for the heroes double layered. They just do have a recess for those tokens, so they don't slide around. So that's good. It serves its purpose. That they need to replace these. These are not good. These are supposed to be specific types of enemies have colored bases. So they give you 2 of these white ones. And then it comes with, I guess, a replacement set or a set to make up for 4, that you need 4 of them. But this plastic is a harder plastic than this plastic. The one that comes with 2 plastic in its own bag is a harder plastic. So what does that mean? Not a big deal, right? As long as it fits on the base. But the bases for all of these miniatures that need these little colored bases is too big. So especially for the hard plastic. Hard plastic isn't going to flex around it. So if I try to put this in there, I'm going to have to press extremely hard. You can see I'm white knuckling it, and I mean the blood is pulling out of my fingers as I'm trying to push this thing in to get it to fit in there. Let's see if I can, and that's not going to fit. Like it's in there, but it's not in there. Like that hard plastic won't reach over there because they're too small. These are not the size for these enemies. So let's try the flimsier one. Now the flimsier one is softer. It's a softer plastic. So that one seems to fit on, and I can get it there. See, let's show. I can get it there, but because it's still too small, it creeps off of there. It's trying to work itself off because it's too tight. It's too small. It's the exact same one as that hard plastic. It's the exact same thing as that hard plastic, but it's a little softer, so I can get it there. See, I'm gonna hold it on there. I'm gonna hold it on there. You see it starting. As soon as I take my hand off there, it creeps off. I'm gonna take my hand off, drop it, it doesn't hold on. So what I've done is I'm just gonna flip these things over and have the miniatures sit on top of the plastic colored base and have it move around that way. So if, let's say that this character was on the board and you needed to identify him as, yeah, it's the white enemy. I'm just gonna pick up the base and the miniature at the same time because my fingers can get around it because it's a bigger base this way. So yeah, all these, I hope that explains it. And they're all the same. I checked them all. They're all too small. Maybe I can use them for another game, but I can't use them for this game other than flipping them over. So Ludus Magnus Studio, please send replacements to everybody for these. It probably won't cost you much to redo these. Make them bigger. If it does, then I don't know. See, these are some of the issues that I'm going to say LMS from this point on, Ludus Magnus Studio. LMS needs to fix some of these things because stuff like that is quality control that doesn't seem to have happened. The punch boards themselves, as I was punching out each, there's 9 punch boards that come in the box. That probably takes up that 1.5 inches that's left in the box. The punch boards, these things come out very nicely. You just quick tap and they'll come out. A little bit of push when it comes to the circular. So pushing on these, it's got one that usually holds on a little bit tighter. So when you're coming with these, push on one end, push on the other, push quickly, push however you want to, but these may need a little bit more of a care, but none of them ripped, and I was pushing it in different ways. So I was pushing quickly, pushing slow, pushing on one edge where it was connected, pushing on the other. None of them tore. Those are fine. Even these were easy to punch out, and those are sometimes hard because the cutting mechanism for things that get here in these very narrow areas, very small, sometimes don't punch all the way through, but even this came out fairly easily. Plastic snaps. So I don't know if you call these plastic snaps or whatnot. So this is the beryllium. You can see that it's just like, heck, think of X-Wing or any game that uses these rotary counters instead of tokens. So instead of having a bunch of tokens all over your board, you have these beryllium to keep count. So the snaps don't necessarily snap and keep it together. So if I just started to slowly pull apart on this, it's gonna come apart. So see, it came apart. So let's put it back together. Let's put that through. Okay, it's through. I've pushed it through. And thank you that these pegs, we'll call it the female peg, is not bigger than the holes that are punched out of the cardboard, because games like Fantasy Flight, games that use these, sometimes make these holes too small, and you're pushing through, and it tears the art. You know, like, oh, I'm glad that it only tore the art in here, so I'm going to just cover it up with another peg, the male peg. So there, I'm pushed through as far as I can go. The cardboard is together. I don't think it's supposed to come all the way through there and snap, but even then, I'm pushing. I've even taken a punch and pushed down on it to see if it would push through and crimp the cardboard a little bit more, but it's not fully snapped in. It does its job, and it's tight enough. It's not like if I shake it, I'm only holding the bottom part. If I shake it, it's going to go away from the number 13. I mean, not too bad. I've seen worse. So if I shake it, I'm only holding the bottom. It's not going to rotate on me. See, it stays at 13, but it's not actually connected because I could just slowly pull it apart and it's not unsnapping. You can see how it's starting to separate there. So the punches, or whatever you want to call these things, that keeps the cardboard dials together, and that goes for the momentum as well. But I mean, as long as you're not trying to pull them apart, I guess there's enough tension between the male and female pegs that can keep it together. Just be wary of that. So the action die, I love these action dice. These are chunky die. Let me show you a comparison size. I mean, maybe you think, oh, that guy's got tiny hands, or he's got big hands, or whatever. So let me go get a standard size die. So again, this is a die from Simon, standard size die, from The Other Seven Sins. Love that game, by the way. Can't wait for the Cthulhu Death May Die, sort of a spiritual successor. So both same size die. I don't know if I have to get those closer so you can see them. All right, same size. These are sharp corners, I guess you call it, and these are rounded corners. So then you take one of the Sine Tempore die, and you can see the size difference all around. It is a large die, and I like those. It reminds me of a game called Seasons. They had some really nice chunky dice, and I tried it. I did. These look like they're glow in the dark. They call them white, but they have this green hue to them that made me think, oh my gosh, are those glow in the dark dice? So I did. I held them up to a light, and I tried to see in the the cup of my hand if they would glow, and they don't. They're not glow in the dark dice, but they are nice, chunky. They are etched, and they are custom. So they're not just, here, take a bunch of six-sided die that have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pips on individual sides and call it good, and you figure a way to make, they bling the game essentially with those. I like those. Custom die are always good. Some of the other colored die, this isn't core box stuff, so you're not going to get this in the core box, but if you backed all in, or if you got some of the other dice packs, I got all the dice packs, but you see they come as a different color other than the ones that are here, which they call white. So I got green. Green's my favorite color. Some of the other packs, you've got orange pack, blue pack. Again, all symbols are the same, just a different color. Players, as I play with them, can choose the color of their choice. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Okay, this one has been talked about. It's in the comments. It doesn't match what was in the Kickstarter page. Maybe I'll throw a quick flash of that up now. And then you can kind of compare that to this. So it's not my camera. Yellow. Here's some green. Falling off there. But there, you got some, I mean, pink versus purple. I'm going to say it's pink. I don't have a problem with it. It's just not what they said it was going to be. Is this a quality control thing? Yes, it is. Maybe people are looking for purple. Maybe they don't like green, so they want purple. Maybe they don't like yellow, so they wanted purple, but they're not going to get purple. They're getting pink, and if they only ordered purple, or maybe they ordered a bunch of purple, this is the color you're getting. I don't have an issue with it. I just wanted all different types of colors. But LMS, you might want to replace these. I don't think they're going to, but people paid for these. The gift thing with the 3D elements, which there are some of the 3D elements, you just don't get as many of them. You get one of each versus, I believe it was 3 or 4 of each, or 2 of each, but you only get one of each. They told us it would be something different, but you're not getting that. They called that a gift. I've already talked about what I think of gifts. If you say you're going to give it to us, we kind of paid for it. We kind of got you where you're at. So the gift is sort of a part of a stretch goal. That doesn't meet the expectations of the people that are getting that, then I guess that's their fault, I guess, maybe. I don't know why, but when it comes to something that somebody paid for and they wanted purple, you're getting pink. Pink's not bad. I'm okay with it. I'm not going to put in a claim for it because it doesn't really bother me all that much. If Ludus Magnus Studios wants to send out a purple pack replacement for the pink, thanks. I don't think they're going to. But the people that want a purple, Ludus Magnus Studios, you're probably going to be getting some requests for replacements or a refund because it's not what people ordered. I'm always all in, so like whatever. The thing with the skill cards, these cards back here, these are skill data pads. So there's different types, and it'll say it up here in the corner. So this is a medic. I believe this is captain. Let's just actually look at that. So we'll put those cards right there. But let's go to the type of... all right, so your hero class symbols. So what comes in the game is captain, psionic, security, and medic. Those are the types. So psionic is the one that I was kind of getting mixed up. So you got psionic, Jukas, you've got captain, Akab, man. Andromeda 2.0 security, and Alexandra is medic. So I don't think I even was pointing those on camera. So psionic, captain, security, and then medic. So each one of these are different. They all have entirely different icons for their skill tokens. All the skill tokens for Akab are different than the skill tokens for Andromeda, which are different than the skill tokens for Jukas, different than Alexandra. All the tokens are different. So don't mix Alexandra's with Jukas, because Jukas won't get any of the icons that are part of an Alexandra, and they all are like that. Those are within the hero classes, and there's two other classes. You get the biologist, the engineer, and the scout. But something I noticed, I looked through all the black box characters, and the black box is the only one that gives you extra heroes. Those are all stretch goals, and there's only one medic. So if you ever want to have a different medic, or if you always need a medic, Alexandra's your only go-to for that. Now, supplement to that, maybe some have the ability to heal, maybe have some abilities that give you some of the characteristics, but there's no other medic other than Alexandra. Game breaker? Heck no. Just something that I noticed that I thought I'd get more medics. Otherwise, in the expansion boxes, and I'll just show you those real quick. So you've got psionic, you've got another psionic there, you've got another two more captains, security, you've got two more security. This blessed weapon is unique. It's the only one there. You've got, what was those called? So you got the biologist there, you got one biologist, you've got the engineer, you've got three different engineers, you've got scouts, three different scouts. So medic, only one, and it's only Alexandra. Big deal? No, but I wish there was some more. But lots of variation in each one of those. So none of these icons that are for the scout are going to be seen on any others. So, and you can mix and match. And kind of how these work is you pick, I believe, 5 of these, and then you kind of push out from that. And then if you go from here to here, this one replaces this one. But if you go from here to here, this one is actually a new one, and it'll kind of describe how those work. And if I have those flipped, I apologize, but you pick the inside ones and then flesh out from there, as long as you have one of your 5 skill slots available. Miniatures, again, aside from what was mentioned already, the condition of the components, like having the broken tail or the tail that snapped off on the bully, and then some of the bendy weapons that can just be hot watered and then quickly cooled with some ice water. The plastic is above average, very nice. I'll show you up close real quick. Some of them very good. Details very sturdy. They're sturdy on their bases. None of them are leaning forward. So good details for painting. You're not trying to guess what to paint on them. So that was Alexandra and Andromeda. You got Lucas and Akab. Acab. I keep wanting to say Ahab. But comparable and very close, if not identical, to the miniature quality that you get in Black Rose Wars. Just these guys came a year later than they were supposed to, and 6 months after Black Rose Wars. And Black Rose Wars successfully funded 1 year after the successful funding of this game. So good overall miniatures. Again, you're getting about 5 models for each of these characters. So good. On those, all the bases are the same, so those aren't different at all. So the bases all have basically the same. I thought I grabbed 2 different ones, but I didn't. Let's grab 2 different ones this time. So you got a kid. You can see some textures in the cape there. Good for painting, makes painting easier. Have a couple of these guys, these 2. So you got the bully there. These are all fawn from the planet that comes in the base game. And this bend that's in here, if you look at the artwork, there's actually a bend in the artwork too, so I'm not calling these bendy. I don't think I'm going to put any kind of hot water work on that guy, because in the artwork it shows them bending. And it almost looks like he's swinging this front one. Maybe the back one needs to be straight, but this front one in the artwork looks bending. And then finally, Fadas. I believe her name is Fadas. I could probably just check. All right, so overall, miniatures, good quality. I'm happy with that. I was very pessimistic in some of the comment sections, saying, the quality, I'm scared I might just sell it on eBay. I don't really like some of the things I'm hearing. Some of the other things I haven't shown you, there's a line of sight tool in there. Got 2 of those. What else have I not shown? I've shown the Periliums, I've shown the Momentum. I haven't shown the Momentum close up though. So different phases. And then the time wheel in the center. Again, the time wheel, the Momentum, the punch doesn't go all the way through, but it's tight enough. The tension between the male and female ends are good enough to where it holds on. And then the time spins independent from the phase. It's definitely a better game quality-wise and content-wise for the money than some other games that I've seen that are $60, $200. You're getting a lot of components, but they're not as good quality. It's just a lot of stuff.